Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the podcast. I'm Bjorn, and this is my lovely assistant slash wife, Lara.
I feel like I should be in a box, and you're going to cut me in half.
Oh, that's what's happening next. Stay tuned, everybody.
Yes.
So we are going back into the 5 love languages. Hopefully, we can kind of not stay on one point for an hour, because otherwise we're going to be on this book for years and not weeks. And speaking of this book, we have an email. We mentioned this in the last podcast, but again, we haven't posted all of these yet. So if you want to send in an email talking about any kind of relationship stuff that you need help with from 2 people that are uncertified, let us know, and you 100%. Will get a free. You'll get 2 free copies of the 5 love languages. Unless you only need one, then we can give that out to somebody else. But if you're a couple, then let me know, and we will send out 2 copies of 5 love languages. And if you want us to autograph it for some reason, let us know, and we will take care of it.
I'm going to sign it anyway.
Okay.
It's just fun to
we'll sign it then.
Do that. So left field, my son just got his, or our son just got his learner's permit. And he's like, I don't know how to sign this. Like, you sign it the best you can, bud. As pretty as it sounds. Or I remember the first time I tried to sign something and I thought I had to look pretty, and then I had to sign everything that looked like that, and then I had to go back and
I'm going to tell you right now, all my signatures look exactly how they did the first time I ever learned how to do.
But you have the same first name and last name all the time. It doesn't matter whether you get married, divorced, whatever.
But I'm saying my signature itself, like some people's over time, evolves into like a beautiful butterfly. Mine looks like 5th grade.
Mine devolves.
Excuse me.
It doesn't matter whether I have the first name, last name, first name, another name. It all looks like
I've had at least 25 years of practice, and I still cannot sign. So let's go ahead and jump into this, Laura.
All right. So you put down, because I'm going off of your notes, love is confusing if you don't communicate.
Yeah. If you don't communicate, then how are you supposed to understand each other's love languages and love in general, and, you know, how you're feeling and stuff?
I feel like when it comes to communication that you and I have been through this, whole, I don't want to say episode, but like saga even. So I over communicate.
Just like Dragon Ball Z.
I like it. Yes. Only
just like Dragon Ball Z, they over communicate because they have every fight is 3 or 4 episodes.
But Vegeta, spoiler alert, and Bulma. No, I meant Bulma.
God.
My bad. But anyway, so in the beginning, I felt like I over communicated and you under communicated. Yeah. And obviously we got to a point where we both worked on it. And even to this day, even to recently, like, I air out everything in my mind. Everything. And I have learned through, it's a plug, but it's not a plug, BetterHelp, that I don't have to say everything I think.
Yeah.
So I feel.
Cannot wait until we can get them as a sponsor, because we are such real advocates of To Be Better. I've never To Be Better. Freaking, I meant to say
BetterHelp.
BetterHelp.
I like them too.
Yeah, for sure. If you don't know, if you want to see similar content to this, watch To Be Better. They're huge assets to relationships and stuff like that. But BetterHelp, I don't use it, but I have seen Lara transform using it.
That's why he loves it, because me. I have talked about them, and I feel like at some point in a podcast, somebody had mentioned, are you like sponsoring them? No, I just love them. Yep. I have the best counselor ever. Oh my God, I love her. Anyway, and I got a home run 10 to 10, like first time, where you can trade up counselors throughout the thing, but we're not talking about them. We're talking about our communication. So, even up until recently, we have, I don't want to say struggled with communication, but communication is hard. Yeah. Because in my mind, I'm talking about one thing. In his mind, he's talking about another. And when it comes to the 5 love languages, like, you do have to communicate what your needs are. Yeah. So I feel like for you, especially with quality time, like, your way of communicating that has been, can you just come sit down, have dinner? Like, I'm ready to watch a movie.
Very direct.
Yes. And I don't know that I'm indirect, but I don't feel like I have understood myself enough to say it until recently. Mm-hmm. But if you don't understand each other's needs, like I did not know at all until recently that quality time for you, which is your primary love language, meant that I could be in the same area. So you're in our studio right now. Right across the way is my art studio, which you made me, and I love that. He did not. You did not. Being he did not care if I was over there as long as I was in the arena.
That's why I built my studio the way I did, so I could look over at you while you're doing art. That's really why. That's why whenever I had the desk in here, that's why I had the desk facing your stuff.
I love that. Yeah. Anyway, I had no idea that quality time meant that you could just see me in the same space. And the entire time I have ADHD, speaking of BetterHelp, and I am all over the place. So when we come to dinner time, which is really our quality time because, kids and whatever, I would try to clean the kitchen because it gave me anxiety. I would try to do whatever. And I had no idea that quality time for you just meant I was in the same area until dinner time, which is where you want me to sit down. But until you communicated that, and again, we have filmed this episode or some rendition of it like
a few times.
But that was the most insightful to me to know that I could just be around you and you would be okay with that.
Yeah.
And when it comes to me articulating what I need, I think there was a lot of times where you felt like I needed the words of affirmation all the time. And I just needed just a little bit.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Little dashes here and there.
Yep. Anything. Not anything, but just, that sounded wrong. But
I think that's only you.
But just knowing what each other wants and knowing what it means to like one another, understanding that words of affirmation don't necessarily mean love bombing, and knowing that quality time doesn't necessarily mean that I have to be right next to you, but in the same area. So if we didn't talk about that, we would be in trouble.
Communication starts with you communicating with yourself. What does it mean, just as an example, in the 5 love languages and talking about the 5 love languages, me saying, hey, quality time doesn't necessarily mean I want her around me all the time. And then I'm supposed to communicate that to you, and same for you, because if you are
up your butt,
yeah,
even.
Yeah. I mean, if
the human centipede, that's all I think about every time I hear up your butt.
All right.
I'm done.
But if you're not communicating with yourself and trying to be aware of your own thoughts and what you're wanting, what you desire out of somebody else, then you're going to create expectations that can completely be unfulfilled.
Oh yeah.
And so that's why it's important to start with you and then communicate your needs to your partner or husband and wife.
I think understanding yourself is primary.
Yeah.
So, because I did not get words of affirmation as a child, I had such a huge void, and I was looking for you or someone to fill that void. And then when you and I got together, all I wanted. There's a puppy dog stage where you do all these things and everything feels good. And then it gets to the relaxed, normal you point. And all I wanted you to do was make me feel, I don't want to say loved, but just better about myself. And that's not really fair when it comes to love languages, because you can't fill that void. There's nothing you could say or do that would fill that void in me. But once I understood that, I knew that even if a little bit of words of affirmation came in, that would make me feel more womanly, that would make me feel more loved, that would make me feel whatever I had to feel. Yeah. But I also had to evaluate, is that really what I need or not? And so over the time, since we've been together, that has really changed. Yeah. But if you don't, I really like the idea, if you don't communicate with yourself, you don't understand yourself, how are you to know?
And everything that you're saying is also why it's so important and this is something that we did not do, but now you are actively doing it, and I'm also doing it in a different way. You need to work on yourself. If you're getting out of a relationship, or if you've never been in one and you've had some kind of trauma in your life, you need to work on yourself before getting into a deep relationship with somebody else. Otherwise, it's going to fail because you don't know how to communicate these things. you don't like somebody who has had some kind of trauma happen to them in their life that makes it where now they don't want to be touched at all. If they haven't worked through that and talked about that with a counselor or talked to, to family members who understand this situation, then they will never be able to, well, not never, but it'll be a lot harder for them to be able to express to their partner who might be physically affectionate, hey, I'm not a touchy person. I don't like being touched because I had this trauma happen to me. That comes with its own embarrassments, perception of embarrassments that make it also harder to talk about,
I find that when you and I first got together, I am a very physical touch person, even though and again, I think we talked about it on episode 1, where I feel like we both should go back and look at at least me, should look at the love languages. But I am a very physical touch person. My mom was not growing up. That was not something for me. And now I'm at a point where, because of whatever I've been through, that the only physical touch I can really receive and not feel like, take me out of my skin.
Out about.
Yeah. Is you and the kids.
Yeah.
And including Juliet. So Juliet is our shared child. She is not mine by birth, but she is mine. And I love when she loves on me, but I do not love when other people touch me. So,
I have a similar issue with Aaron, where it's like, I know because
my son.
Yeah. I know because I never had that male figure in my life.
Son, but my son biologically. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
I know because I never had that male figure in my life that was comfortable in themselves, or wasn't just like essentially either alcoholic or workaholic, both, where they couldn't pay attention to the children around them. I never had that physical affection. So it's hard for me aside from my dad was very physically affectionate, but because he wasn't around, aside from maybe 2% of my life, I never really got the full experience of that from a comfortable, confident man.
He's so sweet. Oh my God.
Who, Aaron?
Aaron, yeah. He just wants to hug you and love on you.
But it's hard for me because I never had that, or given that out before. So I have to do that work inside of me to feel comfortable saying, whenever he comes in and randomly is just like, I love you, I have to, not cringe. I have to work through that in myself and communicate that back to him.
Yeah.
But
he's like, when it comes to physical affection, he's so great at that.
Yeah.
I mean, really, I'm so thankful to have a child. Like, I will waller on the kids. I do not care. I mean, you might go in and kiss Juliet's bat and, whatever, physical affection.
What? Oh, her bat.
Her bat, yeah.
I didn't know what you
I just keep thinking
back. I was like, what the heck are you
No,
talking
that's super weird.
Yeah, that's creepy.
But every time you go in a room, so the kids have decorated for Halloween. She has a bat. Every time you go in there.
Sarah, the bat.
Oh, okay. That's my alter ego also. So he kisses my alter ego, Sarah, who is the bat, every time he goes in there. But I feel like when it comes to physical affection, like, especially with our family dynamic, it's a whole lot different because we just go in there and do whatever. And I definitely waller on Juliet. And when we first got together, she was not about that life. Where now she'll wait for me to do that. And I love that about that. Or I love that about the dynamic. And with Aaron, even when I think about, like, I don't want to put anybody out, but when I think about his interactions with other family members, like, if you have had physical affection issues with someone else, it is going to cause you issues within your dynamic, within the people who are close to you. So communicating with yourself and communicating with one another really helps to understand, because you may not like pick up on it right away. Like quality time. I still struggle with that, but I understand now because you communicated that. And I also feel like with words of affirmation for you, like, you understand what I'm looking for, but you had to understand within yourself what that meant.
Yeah.
So
talking about communication one more time and talking about Aaron, I talked to my mom about that, about how I struggled with that and explained everything that I just explained. And she was like, oh yeah, like she thought I was joking at first about with the relationship with Aaron. And then she was like, she kind of had that aha moment in herself and with me at the same time, where she was like, yeah, you know, it's kind of the same thing where I didn't really have a physically affectionate family. And Aaron's such a lovey-dovey kid that, you know, she had to also not, like, she had to force herself not to cringe a few times because she's just not used to that. She never, like, me and her, my brother, were pretty affectionate, but outside of that, her dad didn't show her any kind of physical affection. My nanny, bless her heart, I don't think they've ever hugged as far as I've ever seen.
I must make her cringe every time she comes over here
No,
because
I think
I
you're
hug the
changing her.
crap out of her.
I think you're changing her because
I love her so
Juliet walked out
much.
there, and again, Juliet, same kind of thing. She, you know, both my nanny and Juliet, not very touchy-feely whenever they're not super comfortable with somebody. And Nanny's like, "Oh, you come here and give me a hug." And that's just not how she
No,
is.
don't do that.
Yeah.
Not here. I can't help it, especially with someone I love.
Mhm.
You know, I just want to I just want to show them in ways that it's ironic because those kind of physical affection things have been very harmful to me in my past. You know, I love my mom. I love the relationship that we have, but until recently, she wasn't really open to that. Like I am definitely the black sheep. I mean, there's only 2 sheep, but I'm definitely the black one when it comes to that.
Oh no, I feel like it's 2 shades black. I'm both.
We're super awkward in general, but I love her and she's great. But when it comes to that kind of thing, I'm a hugger, and I don't know. I found myself recently, this has nothing to do with us, but everything to do with relationships. There are a couple people in my life on my outside perspective. So not my immediate family, not us, not anybody blood, not any of that, but friends who I have been saying, all right, I love you, bye. And then I had to go back and I had to say, I know that might be super weird. And I am sorry for that, but I really do mean it when I say that. If I tell you I love you and I hang up with you, I genuinely love you.
Yeah.
And the people that I like hug when I leave is until you let the other person know. Because in my mind, I was just thinking about the whole time. There was a specific person that I have said and hugged when they left. And the whole time I'm thinking, oh my God, this is super awkward.
Yeah.
So talking about stuff really helps. And whether it be platonic, whether it be romantic, there's another one, familial. I'm going to go with that.
Yeah.
But until you communicate how you feel, love in general can be very confusing. So we're going to end on that note. And the next one is love obsession is toxic to a relationship.
Oh yeah.
Love obsession is a bar that can't be reached again. New car smell.
Yeah. So those are all quotes from the book. So love obsession is kind of the puppy dog phase, but to a degree that you don't want to be away from the person, you don't want to stop talking to the person, almost like high school. And the reason that I can say
me to you, 100%.
Well, not really, because you love me in a reasonable way, and you still do. So it has stayed flat the whole time. Like your love, if you look at it as a bar graph, it went up and stayed at that point, which is good. Where these people, what they do is they love, and then it dips down, and then the partner is wanting that same kind of love, but it never comes back. And that's something actually you and I have dealt with, where whenever we first got into the relationship, I essentially love bombed you in a way. And now
you're so good at it though.
And there's been times in our relationship where you've brought that up, and I'm like, well, you know, that was a different time. That's, you know, we have become more comfortable. We've also had a lot more stress on us over time with teenagers and jobs and all these different things. So now, you know, we have made it through that situation where the what did I call it in the
new car smell?
No, the love
obsession.
Yeah, love obsession, where we made it through the love obsession, and now we are just in love. Not just, but we are in love. instead of this obsession, which is very, very toxic. Because, the flip side of that, where your partner is always seeking that out, the flip side of it is you could run that person off as well. If you're like super obsessed saying, I love you all the time, and, making it where the meaning of I love you is completely gone from the word. And, yeah, I mean, you could definitely run somebody off like that.
I feel like that's interesting that you said that, because when you and I got together, I can distinctly remember there was a point where like I was so confused. I had never, and I've had some like serious relationships. I've had a number of relationships. There's an age gap here. So I've had 7.5 years more relationship opportunity. But there was a time where I was so befuddled by the fact that you love me so much. Like you would show up and you bring me lunch, and you would, it didn't matter what time, we would stay up all hours of the night. Not that we don't already do that, but, but the fact that you would just go so far out of your way to love me. And that's crazy that I'm thinking about this. There was a point that, your brother, who, things happen, whatever, he was really concerned that you would do whatever I told you to. And there was a moment where I was like, I think he might. And it felt really uncomfortable because I had never experienced love like you. I never had the puppy dog stage ever. And you really did that for me. I was like, nope, that's just what our love is. Yeah. So even going into our relationship, I didn't understand what that meant. And I was obsessed. Like I'd never felt that kind of love. I can say to this day, nope, that I have never felt that kind of
cry counter.
No, I have never felt that kind of love. Yep. From anyone. So there is an obsession. Like I didn't want to lose that. I thought that puppy dog love, whatever, that's stupid. No, I really believed when we got together that this was us forever. You were going to write me notes on the takeout box. You were going to show up at 6 a.m. and you were going to do whatever. Not that you don't do your own things in your own way, but I really believe that, like, there were times that my trauma like was super prevalent, and you were so caring and dismissive of that because we didn't know, right? Yeah. And now we hold each other accountable, but it was really hard to navigate. Like for me personally, I was just waiting for you to be that again. You're telling me, oh, I can't do words of affirmation. Well, no, you did that. I saw you do that. Like I smelt the new car like that. It was like a leather and the clean shampoo that they do in there and whatever they wipe it down with. And I was like, nope, you can't tell me you can't do that. I smelled it. But you cannot hold somebody else accountable for something in the beginning of your relationship that, especially when you don't understand. Like for me, I didn't get it. And I was just waiting around for that. Like, oh, you must not love me anymore. So that I think is really where the toxicity comes in. And I do believe that I will say I am obsessed with you. Like not in an maybe in an unhealthy way, but like, I just love you. Like you're the best thing since sliced bread. There are sometimes I want to, punch you in the throat.
But that's what the obsession is. That's what I'm talking about is, you're not obsessed with me. You love me. Obsession is...
punch you in the throat.
Obsession is where I would do anything and you wouldn't feel that way.
There have been times though. We've been together. I never remember our anniversary. Neither do you. 2019. Yeah. So we've been together almost 20 or 20. We've been together almost 6 years, right? Yeah. And through most of our relationship,
we got together in 18 and married in 19.
Nobody do math on that, please. But there was most of the time where it didn't matter what you did. I would just accept it because I loved you. Yeah. But now like especially in the last year since I got counseling, BetterHelp, we're not plugging them again, just saying, I love you for who you are, but I still want to hit you.
Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. You're out of the obsession. You're now in a healthy love relationship with me instead of being obsessed to the point where even if I
but I'm still obsessed with you. Like, I love you.
I mean,
what do you call this? You're so handsome.
you're in love.
Okay.
That's what that is.
He's so great.
Oh my goodness. But so obsession, I think, is taking it to that toxic level of allowing anything in the relationship and just being like, oh, whatever, I'm not going to hold you accountable. I'm not going to say anything to you. I'm just going to accept that no matter what.
I think we both had a little bit of obsession because we both drew boundaries. Like, drawing boundaries in a relationship is healthy. Yeah. And I think that if you don't know yourself, first of all, you can't draw boundaries. So back to the communication, like understanding yourself is important. But there were definitely times that for both of us, I feel like there were things that we came into the relationship with where you're like, I'm not doing that. Yep. And I did that. And there were things that I was like, I'm not handling that. And I did that. I think when you can say safely, we're like, okay, these are my boundaries, right? Mm-hmm. The new car smell wears off and I'm not doing this again. I'm not going to go through that. I know that all this was great. And and again, I still feel it's not obsessed, but I like genuinely love you. And I would put up with a lot more than I thought I would put up with. But there's a point where when you're obsessed with that person, when you're like, what are they doing? I have to check their location. I don't know why I went to that one, but it felt right. Check their location. I have to know what they're saying, doing all the time. Like, everything they do is perfect. Everything that they say is like the golden rule. Yeah. That is where the obsession comes in, where you sacrifice your own boundaries to please someone else. Mm-hmm. That is what that means to me. And I definitely know that I have sacrificed my own boundaries to be with you, but I feel like where I'm at now, like I do love you I would square up with somebody, but I would not sacrifice my own boundaries to be with you.
I feel like the person that is doing that long term, who is sacrificing all of their boundaries to be with somebody, is obsessed with the idea of that person and not the actual person. So if somebody's pretending to be a skater kid and in a band,
he was a skater boy, said see you later,
and that's why she's with him, then it turns out he doesn't really skate and he doesn't really know how to sing. Well, and she's still with him, but
my foot is touching him down here because that hit home for me. Go ahead.
Then you're just obsessed with the idea of that person, and whenever that idea wears out, that's whenever the deep hatred and resentment of that person comes in.
I have always been obsessed with love. A love in a way that
hopeless romantic.
I would say that at first, but I don't even feel like it's that. Like, you have this formation of love when you are a child and you're looking for something, and then you get into your first relationship and, it's all great and whatever. And like, you're in high school and, it's just like, you're looking for that like MTV video, or you're looking for the like Twilight. He's so sparkly, whatever.
Twilight is a terrible love story, just so everybody knows here.
But if I met a vampire, listen, seriously.
This guy literally is gaslighting her every 2 seconds.
I mean, I fell for it. I would have.
I know, and those were bad relationships.
Whatever. I would have fell for it. A sparkly man who would make me live forever. I don't know. Oh. And then you get into the stage where you are with somebody, and I know for me, especially as like an overweight, insecure, like young adult woman, I just wanted somebody to accept me for me. I was always like there's some song like the fat funny friend or whatever. And I always felt like that. Like I always felt like I was on the outside. So anytime somebody gave me attention, and there were I can recall so many toxic moments growing up from like 14 on, where I just accepted whatever. And I just waited for someone like you to come along, someone who would actually give me that feeling. And the moment that you gave me that, I was like, I'm not letting that go. But for someone who's been through things, I think it is important to know that even though you may not feel worthy of whatever you're getting, like you are worthy, and that you don't have to accept less because you feel less. And that the moment that you see that come from somebody, that does not mean it is the right relationship.
Yeah.
And people do 100% prey on that.
Oh, yeah.
People will find, even if you're not aware that you're weak, people will prey on that weakness.
There's so many, specifically, I'm sure guys get abused by this too, but specifically women who get just utterly abused and used by guys who just see that, oh, she has daddy issues, or she has, problems in her life. And they just are like, oh, this is my time. And these are normally people that are just charismatic. Like, they might not have job, they might not have anything to their name, They might have debt, they might have all these different things.
Everybody got debt though.
But just because they're charismatic, they're able to, it's essentially Satan.
I don't even know that everybody knows that they're doing it. I do feel like, especially in a younger age, you don't realize that like charisma gets you a long way. And so you get used to using charisma to get you a long way. There are some guys or girls who really know that like, oh, I've got that. I'm going to, utilize that for my own happiness. But there have been, at least for me, many times where I did not know, I did not understand. And the charisma got me every time because I had that hole, right? Until you and I got together. And again, I don't even know if I would have been able to recognize if you were trying to fill that void that I had at the time, but you did. And I'm glad that we worked through that. And I'm glad that we communicated through that, back to the first point of the conversation. But if I did not recognize that obsession was unhealthy, then I think that we could have made it a long time, but have ended up in a bad place.
This is where young ladies and young men need healthy mentors, because kids, whenever they get to a certain age, the parents are idiots to them.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah.
Everybody goes through that. But if somebody has a healthy mentor,
Mom, Dad, you're not idiots. I just need them to know that. Dad, listen to my mama.
But if
I wouldn't have been with you.
Teens have a really, really good mentor, somebody who they can look up to and respect, who has listened to something like this, where it's the mentor can tell them, hey, don't get obsessed with somebody, and I'm going to be there for you whenever you do get obsessed with them. So please don't take what I'm saying as me just being a butthole. Please understand that I'm telling you from the bottom of my heart that you're being manipulated right now.
I think there's a point in time where every teenager is like, I can't put that. F you, I did that. And I know, our eldest did that, and I understand, like, I get it. Like, I am super hard-headed. Like, everything that my mom tried to tell me, like, I'd say, I don't know, 75, 50 to 75. I don't know where the 50 lies, but somewhere between there. She was right. She was not wrong. She had her own experiences, but I did not get it. And I think part of that is about openness with your kids. Like, I probably painfully and wrongfully so have been open with my kids. Yeah. And maybe even so with our daughter who we share. I have told the unadulterated truth with, because I did not want them to go through that. And with my oldest, like, she had to hit that wall for herself.
And that is the truth there. Some people, you'll learn, the more kids you have, the more personalities you have in the house, and you'll understand some of them just, and we're still dealing with it today, some of them just have to learn on their own. You can tell them.
And I think that's okay, though. I feel like the lessons you learn on your own, and you and I are two different peas in a pod. I'm saying,
like, certain things, yes. Certain things, get yourself in debt, get yourself with the wrong jobs, things like that. Then there's things like, pregnancy. Well, there's no turning back from that. You're just there, and you're going to have a baby, and you're going to have to deal with those ramifications for the rest of your life.
I would not change a single thing about my life. And pregnancy was one of those. I had my oldest when I was 20, like literally 3 weeks after I turned 20. Mm-hmm. You and I both had our children young, again, with the age gap. You consciously decided to have a child, where I did not consciously decide. Yeah. I would, and this could go both ways. It could be a popular or unpopular decision, but I would not change that at all, because I do feel like I have a closer relationship with my children, even if they don't see it in the moment. That, again, I have some hard-headed kids, but they get that naturally. Like I feel like the most valuable lessons that I learned were the ones that I learned on my own. Like my mom tried to tell me a lot, and where for you watched other people do it and you learned your own lessons, and you were like, not for me. Yep. But back to the bullet point here that obsession is toxic. When it comes back to kids, I think that when you grow up with a hole in your heart, whether it is a absent parent, whether it is a parent who is there and not capable, whether it is a parent who has tried and not able to understand, whether it is just you, I feel like knowing that you have boundaries and being obsessed is unhealthy will keep you from not continually searching for that new car smell, but you accept someone just as they are. And it took me a long time to accept you for who you were, because I was looking for that. But I love the way your car smells. So good. French fries in the back seat, stuffed down, all of it. So, well, I think those 2 bullet points are good. So, love is confusing if you don't communicate, and obsession can be toxic to relationships. That new car smell, I think everybody can understand that. And if they can't, you'll figure it out.
Yep. All right. So until next time, we'll see you on the next podcast, everybody. A little kiss for everybody. Normally that's for the people on the gaming channel, but just for you.
Not today. Not anymore.
Yep.
My lipstick is a hot mess.
It's gone.
Yeah, no, I know. I've been ruining it the whole time. The whole time I've been trying to hide behind the mic.
I saw that.
I was trying to get it off here. I love black lipstick. I have not invested into a permanent, or what's it called?
Like
lip stain. A lip stain.
You should have just went and borrowed Juliet's.
I'm not gonna. I thought about it, but anyway. So until the next episode.
All right, we got to come up with a catchphrase. See you later, everybody. Love you.
That's not a good one.
What?
No.
What?
See you later, everybody.
I told you we have to come up with a catchphrase. Give me something better. Throw something out on.
Sayonara suckers is not good, right?
Yeah.
And I'm going to come up with something super feelsy. That is not what I wanted to say.
All right. We love you and have a blessed night.
Super sucky.
All right, everybody. Have a good night. Love you. Bye-bye.